The massive alien ship loomed in the view screen, its dark metal hull covered with sharp angles that somehow reminded Lieutenant Samantha Vega of a giant space insect. She stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, her hands clasped behind her back, as she watched the alien vessel grow larger. The Valiant was officially just a small reconnaissance ship, sent to this unexplored sector to gather information. At least, that's what the Galactic Coalition had told the Kravoth Empire. Distance. To Kravoth vessel? Captain Alan Burke asked, his voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. 40,000 kilometers in closing, sir, replied Navigation Officer Ben Rogers. They're on an intercept course. Captain Burke nodded, his weathered face giving away nothing. At 55, Burke had served in Earth Space Forces for over 30 years. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion and survived the Battle of Europa. The crew trusted him completely. Sam watched her captain carefully. She had served under Burke for 3 years now, and she knew when he was concerned. His right hand tapped, softly against his leg, a small tell that most people would miss. Open a channel, Burke ordered. Let's be friendly. Communications Officer Lisa Reyes nodded and touched her console. Channel open, Captain. Attention, Kravoth vessel. This is Captain Alan Burke of the United Earth ship Valiant. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration authorized by the Galactic Coalition. We come with respect and goodwill. The main screen flickered, and the bridge crew got their first real look at a Kravoth. The alien commander had a hard exoskeleton covering its head and torso, with compound eyes that glittered like black jewels. Its mandibles clicked together before it spoke, the translation software converting its speech to English. Human vessel, the Kravoth said, the translated voice sounding artificial and cold. You claim to be explorers, yet your ship carries weapons. You claim peace, yet you approach our territory with warriors. The Kravoth Empire knows of humanity's bloody history. Sam felt her muscles tense. The Kravoth weren't wrong about human history, but they didn't understand human nature. Humans never sent unprepared ships anywhere. Even their science vessels carried defenses. It wasn't deception. It was survival instinct. We respect your borders, Burke replied evenly. Our weapons are defensive only. The Coalition informed your government of our mission 3 standard months ago. The aliens' mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation that the human crew had been briefed. To recognize. Your kind sends warriors to our borders and calls them observers, the Kravoth commander hissed. We know what happens to those who allow humans to gain a foothold. Sam exchanged a quick glance with Frank Miller at the weapons console. They both recognized the shift in the conversation. This wasn't going well. Sir, Sam said quietly to Burke. Sensors are detecting energy buildup in their forward weapons array. Burke nodded slightly but continued the diplomatic approach. Commander, I assure you we have no hostile intent. Perhaps we could arrange a meeting between our... A bright beam of energy shot from the Kravoth ship, striking the Valiant's forward shields. The impact rocked the ship, causing the bridge crew to grab their stations for support. Shields holding at 87%, reported Defensive Systems Officer Amy Liu. Minor damage to outer hull plating on Deck 4. Burke's expression hardened, but he didn't look surprised. It seems they've made their choice, he said quietly. He pressed a button on his chair. All hands. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Throughout the ship, alarm lights flashed as crew members rushed to their combat positions. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Dwayne Harris and his team prepared for combat power distribution. In the medical bay, Dr. Greg Palmer and his staff readied for casualties. They're charging weapons for another shot, Sam reported, watching her tactical display. Burke turned to Frank Miller. Target their weapons array. Disable, don't destroy. Frank nodded and input the commands. Targeting solutions ready, sir. The captain hesitated for just a moment. Opening fire would mean the difference between a diplomatic incident and an act of war. But the Kravoth had fired first, and Burke's primary duty was to his ship and crew. Fire, he ordered. The Valiant's response was immediate and shocking. Hull plates slid aside, revealing weapon systems far beyond what a reconnaissance vessel should possess. Precision-guided energy beams struck the Kravoth ship exactly where Frank had aimed, disabling their main weapons array without causing catastrophic damage. On screen, they could see the alien commander's surprise as warning lights flashed behind him. "Your weapons," the Kravoth began, mandibles clicking rapidly, "are more than you expected." Burke finished for him. "We came in peace, but we came prepared. Stand down your secondary weapons, or the next hit won't be so surgical." Instead of complying, the alien cut the transmission. Seconds later, multiple new contacts appeared on the Valiant's sensors. 3 more Kravoth warships just dropped out of hyperspace, Sam announced, tension evident in her voice. "They're moving to surround us." Lisa looked up from her communications console. "Captain, they're jamming our long-range communications. I can't get a signal out to Coalition headquarters." The bridge fell silent as everyone realized their situation. They were outnumbered 4-1, cut off from support, in a region of space where few would question their disappearance. Burke stood from his chair, his calm presence steadying the crew. "They think we're just a recon team," he said. "They have no idea what a human ship, any human ship, is truly capable of." He walked to the tactical station and studied the enemy formation. "Ms. Vega, your assessment?" Sam analyzed the enemy positions. "They're expecting us to run or surrender, sir. Standard encirclement pattern. They don't know human vessels don't have an acceptable losses setting in our combat protocols." Burke smiled grimly. "Then let's educate them." He opened the ship-wide communication channel. "All hands, this is the captain. The Kravoth have chosen conflict over communication. They believe we are easy prey. They believe that because we are few and they are many, we will falter." He paused, looking around at his bridge crew. "They don't know humans very well." The captain returned to his chair. "Tactical, activate the Thanatos protocol." Sam's eyes widened slightly, but she entered the command without hesitation. Throughout the Valiant, systems began to shift into configurations no alien engineer would consider sane, redirecting life support power from unoccupied decks to weapons, overclocking shield generators beyond safety parameters, and preparing to use drive plasma as a weapon if necessary. As the Kravoth opened fire, the human ship responded with devastating precision. The aliens had just made a terrible mistake. They had fired on humans who were, by galactic standards, absurdly overprepared for conflict, and the Valiant wasn't running anywhere. The Valiant shook as enemy fire struck its shields. Red emergency lights flashed across the bridge as Captain Burke gripped the arms of his command chair. "Shield status," he called out. Amy Lou worked quickly at her console, holding at 72%. "The Thanatos protocol is redistributing power to reinforce our weakest points." The 4 Kravoth ships had formed a tight attack formation, their weapons focused on what they believed was a lightly armed human reconnaissance vessel. They had no idea that the Valiant carried weapon systems that would be illegal under several coalition treaties. "They're coordinating their attacks," Sam Vega noted, analyzing the tactical display. "Each ship is targeting a different shield sector." Burke nodded. "Smart, but predictable." He turned to Frank Miller at the weapons station. "Target the lead vessel's engines, let's break their formation." Frank's fingers moved across his console with practiced efficiency. "Targeting solutions ready, sir." Fire. The Valiant's hull shimmered as concealed weapon ports opened. Bright, blue energy beams lanced out, striking the lead Kravoth ship with surgical precision. The alien vessel's engines flared and then dimmed as the human weapons cut through their shields. "Direct hit," Frank reported. "Their primary propulsion is offline." On the main view screen, the damaged Kravoth ship began to drift, throwing the enemy formation into disarray. The other 3 ships adjusted their positions, but their coordinated attack pattern was broken. Lisa Reyes looked up from her communications station. "Captain, I'm still being jammed, but I might be able to get a narrow beam transmission through if we can move to coordinates 227 Mark 43. "Mr. Rogers," Burke said to his navigation officer, "can you get us there?" Ben Rogers studied his navigation console. Yes, sir, but we'd have to pass between two of the enemy vessels. It would be tight. How tight? Less than 500 meters clearance on either side. Burke smiled grimly. I've squeezed through tighter spots. He pressed the ship-wide comm button. All hands brace for high-G maneuvers. The captain nodded to Ben. Take us through, full impulse. The Valiant's engines roared to life as the ship surged forward, accelerating at a rate that pressed the crew into their seats. On the bridge, automatic medical systems deployed, injecting crew members with compounds to help their bodies withstand the extreme forces. Sam watched in amazement as Ben guided the ship between two Kravoth warships with barely any room to spare. The enemy vessels fired desperately, but most of their shots missed as the human ship moved too quickly for their targeting systems. We're through, Ben announced as the Valiant cleared the gap. Damages? Burke asked. Minor hull breaches on decks, 5, and I've already dispatched repair teams. Lisa immediately began working on establishing communications, sending distress signal now tight beam to Coalition Relay Station Delta 9. The 3 functioning Kravoth ships were turning to pursue them, while the disabled lead vessel drifted helplessly. Captain Burke studied the tactical display. They're regrouping. Opinions. Sam stepped forward. Sir, their formation suggests they think we're running. We could use that. Burke raised an eyebrow. Go on, Lieutenant. If we cut engines and drift for 30 seconds, then execute a 180-degree flip and go to full power, we'd be heading straight at them before they realize we've turned to fight. Frank nodded appreciatively. The old Crazy Ivan maneuver. I like it. Burke considered for a moment, then nodded. Make it so, Mr. Rogers. All hands, prepare for zero-G flip maneuver. Throughout the ship, crew members secured loose equipment and braced themselves. In the medical bay, Dr. Greg Palmer and his team locked down patients to their beds and secured medical supplies. All sections report ready, Sam announced. Execute maneuver, Burke ordered. The Valiant's engines cut out, suddenly creating a moment of weightlessness as the ship continued to drift along its previous vector. Then, using only maneuvering thrusters, Ben flipped the ship 180 degrees so it faced the oncoming Kravoth vessels. Flip complete, Ben reported. Ready for main engine restart. Full power, Burke commanded. The engines ignited with a roar that vibrated through the hull, sending the Valiant hurtling back toward the surprised Kravoth ships at maximum acceleration. They're scrambling to adjust their formation, Sam reported, watching the enemy ships try to respond to the unexpected human tactic. Target the nearest vessel, Burke ordered. All weapons, full spread. The Valiant's weapons fired in a devastating barrage that struck the unprepared Kravoth ship. Its shields flickered and failed under the assault. Their shields are down, Frank called out. Target their weapon systems, Burke instructed. Disable, don't destroy. Another precision strike from the Valiant left the second Kravoth ship drifting, powerless, its weapons disabled. 2 down, 2 to go, Burke said calmly. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Dwayne Harris worked frantically to maintain the overloaded systems. The Thanatos protocol pushed the ship's power systems far beyond their designed limits. Bridge, this is engineering, Dwayne's voice came over the comm. The primary coolant system is reaching critical temperatures. We can give you 130% on the particle cannons, but the heat sinks will only hold for 6 more minutes. Understood, Chief, Burke replied. We'll make those 6 minutes count. On the view screen, the remaining 2 Kravoth ships broke formation, one moving to flank the Valiant while the other continued its frontal approach. They're adapting, Sam observed. Learning our tactics. Burke nodded. As they should. But so are we. He turned to Amy. Route auxiliary power to aft shields. They'll hit us from behind. Just as he predicted, the flanking Kravoth ship fired a barrage at the Valiant's rear. The reinforced shields held, though the impact rocked the ship. Message coming in from the lead Kravoth vessel, Lisa announced. On screen, Burke ordered. The Kravoth commander appeared, its compound eyes gleaming with what might have been anger or respect. Human vessel, the alien's translated voice said. You fight with unexpected skill. Your ship is not what it appears to be. No, Kravoth, Burke replied evenly. No human ship is ever just what it appears to be. Stand down your weapons and We can end this without further bloodshed. The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly. We do not surrender. I'm not asking for surrender, Burke clarified. I'm offering a ceasefire. There's a difference. Before the Kravoth could respond, Lisa interrupted. Captain, I'm detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching our position. The bridge crew tensed, expecting more enemy reinforcements. Sam checked her tactical display and then broke into a smile. Sir, they're human signatures. Coalition IFF codes confirmed. 3 massive ships emerged from hyperspace, their hulls gleaming in the light of the nearby star. Each was at least 3 times the size of the Valiant, their weapon ports already open and ready to fire. USS Intrepid, Dauntless, and Relentless, Sam identified. Heavy cruisers from the 7th Fleet. The lead ship, the Intrepid, hailed them immediately, and Captain Nicole Hayes appeared on screen. Her red hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, her expression one of professional calm. Valiant, this is Captain Hayes. Looks like you started the party without us. Burke's exhausted face broke into a smile. Better late than never, Nicole. We've softened them up for you. Hayes nodded, then her expression hardened as she addressed the Kravoth ships. Attention, Kravoth vessels. You have attacked a coalition ship without provocation. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will respond with appropriate force. On the Valiant's bridge, the crew watched as the remaining Kravoth ships slowly powered down their weapon systems. Their recon mission had suddenly become much more complicated. 2 hours after the battle, Captain Burke sat in his ready room reviewing damage reports on his tablet. The door chimed. Enter, he called. Sam Vega stepped into the room carrying her own tablet. She looked tired but alert, her uniform slightly wrinkled after the long day. Damage assessment complete, sir, she reported. We have hull breaches on decks 5 and 7, but emergency force fields are holding. Repair teams estimate 12 hours for critical repairs. Burke nodded and gestured for her to sit. Casualties? 17 injured, 3 seriously. Dr. Palmer says, everyone will recover. Sam paused. We were lucky, sir. Luck had little to do with it, Lieutenant, Burke replied. This crew performed exceptionally. He put down his tablet and rubbed his eyes. Any word from Captain Hayes? Yes, sir. The Intrepid has secured the Kravoth vessels. They've taken the alien crews into custody. Captain Hayes has requested your presence for the initial questioning of the Kravoth commander. Burke stood, straightening his uniform. Then we shouldn't keep her waiting. 20 minutes later, Burke and Sam beamed aboard the Intrepid, where they were met by a young ensign who escorted them to the ship's conference room. Inside, Captain Hayes stood talking with her security chief. The Kravoth commander sat at the table flanked by 2 armed guards. Hayes turned as they entered. Alan, good to see you in one piece. Her eyes moved to Sam. And this must be your XO I've heard so much about. Lieutenant Samantha Vega, Burke confirmed. One of my finest officers. Hayes nodded to Sam, then gestured to the table. Let's get started. They sat across from the Kravoth commander, whose mandibles clicked softly as it observed them. Up close, Sam could see the complex patterns on its exoskeleton, marking its rank and clan. For the record, Hayes began activating the room's recording system. This is Captain Nicole Hayes of the USS Intrepid, with Captain Alan Burke of the USS Valiant, and Lieutenant Samantha Vega. We are interviewing the commander of the Kravoth, vessel that initiated hostilities against a coalition ship. The Kravoth's compound eyes shifted between the 3 humans. I am Fleet Commander Zikatar of the Imperial warship Relentless Claw. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Interesting name choice for a ship that surrendered so quickly. The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. We did not surrender. We accepted a ceasefire when faced with overwhelming force. After attacking a coalition reconnaissance vessel without provocation, Burke added. Zikatar turned to Burke. Your vessel was not a simple reconnaissance ship. It carried weapons and defense systems far beyond what was declared to our government. Sam watched Burke carefully control his expression. The Kravoth wasn't wrong, but there were political complications at play. The Valiant is classified as a research and reconnaissance vessel, Burke said evenly. Our defensive capabilities are proportional to the regions we explore. Your defensive capabilities disabled 3 of our warships, Ziktar countered. Hayes leaned forward. The real question, Commander Ziktar, is why you attacked a coalition vessel in neutral space. That's an act of war. The alien was silent for a moment. We received intelligence that humans were preparing for aggressive expansion into our territory. Your ship's approach was viewed as the first step in a planned invasion. That's absurd, Burke said. We have no interest in Kravoth territory. Then why does your small reconnaissance ship carry enough firepower to challenge our warships? Zikatar demanded. Why do all human vessels, even your science ships, bristle with weapons? Your kind prepares for war even in times of peace. Glanced at Burke, who seemed to be considering his words carefully. Commander, Burke finally said, humans come from a world where we learned hard lessons about survival. We never send unprepared ships anywhere. It's not aggression, it's caution. In the corner of the room, a terminal beeped. Hayes checked it and frowned. We've decoded some of the Kravoth communications from before the attack, she said, turning. Back to Zakatar. It seems your ships were ordered to eliminate the human presence before reinforcements arrive. Care to explain? The alien's mandibles worked silently for a moment. The High Command believed your reconnaissance was prelude to a larger fleet. We chose to strike first. Based on what evidence? Hayes pressed. Your kind has a saying, Zikatar replied. The best defense is a good offense. Sam couldn't stay silent any longer. So you attacked us based on nothing but fear and suspicion? The Kravoth turned its compound eyes toward her. Not nothing, Lieutenant. We intercepted communications between your coalition worlds. There was talk of securing the frontier and establishing a human presence in this sector. Burke and Hayes exchanged glances. Sam knew those phrases had been used in coalition meetings, but they referred to scientific outposts, not military installations. You misunderstood diplomatic language, Burke explained. Those communications referred to scientific missions, not military operations. Perhaps, Ziktar said. But why then did 3 heavily armed cruisers arrive so quickly? To your aid? They were already in the sector, were they not? Hayes smiled coolly. Standard coalition protocol. We don't send our ships out alone, Commander. The Intrepid battle group was conducting training exercises nearby. When the Valiant's distress signal reached us, we responded. Sam could tell the Kravoth didn't entirely believe this explanation, but it was technically true. The human ships had been nearby, though not entirely by coincidence. The door opened, and a communications officer entered. He whispered something to Hayes, who nodded. It seems we'll need to continue this later, Hayes said. I've just been informed that the Kravoth High Command has opened a direct channel to Coalition headquarters. They're requesting an immediate diplomatic conference. Ziktar's mandibles clicked in what might have been surprise. So soon? Your attack has accelerated matters, Burke said, standing. The Coalition takes the unprovoked targeting of its vessels very seriously. As they left the conference room, Sam fell into step beside Burke. Sir, do you think this will lead to war? Burke shook his head. No, Lieutenant. It will lead to understanding. The Kravoth just learned something important about humans. What's that, sir? That we're always prepared for the worst, but we prefer to hope for the best. He paused as they walked toward the ship's bridge. They fired on us expecting an easy victory over a scout ship. Instead, they found that humans don't build ships that can't defend themselves. On the Intrepid's bridge, the main view screen showed a stunning sight. A massive Coalition diplomatic vessel had arrived, its elegant design a stark contrast to the military vessels surrounding it. The USS Concord, Hayes explained as they entered. Fastest diplomatic response I've ever seen. Sam watched as small shuttles began transferring between the Concord and the Kravoth ships. They're not wasting any time. Burke nodded. The Coalition wants this resolved quickly. A misunderstanding is easier to fix than an ongoing conflict. As they watched the diplomatic dance begin, Sam couldn't help but think about Zikatar's words. Humans did prepare for war even in peacetime. Their ships were always armed, their crews always trained for combat. Was it paranoia or wisdom born? From a violent history? She looked at Captain Burke, who stood calmly watching the proceedings. Sir, she said quietly, the Krevoth commander wasn't entirely wrong about us, was he? Burke turned to her, his expression thoughtful. Humans learned long ago, Lieutenant. Hope for peace, prepare for war. It's not aggression, it's survival. He smiled slightly. And today it saved our lives. The next day, Sam stood beside Captain Burke in the grand conference room of the USS Concord. The diplomatic vessel was unlike any military ship she had served on. Its ceilings were high, its walls decorated with artwork from various coalition worlds, and its furniture designed for comfort rather than utility. Around the large oval table sat representatives from both the coalition and the Krevoth Empire. Ambassador Julia Martinez led the human delegation, her silver hair and confident posture commanding respect from everyone in the room. Across from her sat the Krevoth High Commander, a larger version of Zikatar with more elaborate markings on its exoskeleton. Captain Hayes stood to the side with her senior officers, while Burke and Sam represented the Valiant. As the ship directly involved in the incident, their presence was required. This conference will now begin, announced a coalition moderator, a tall, blue-skinned alien from the Aelan species. Ambassador Martinez spoke first. We are gathered here to address a serious incident that occurred in neutral space. A coalition vessel on a sanctioned reconnaissance mission was attacked without provocation by Krevoth warships. The Krevoth High Commander's mandibles clicked. We dispute the claim of without provocation. The human vessel carried weapons far beyond what was declared to our government. Martinez remained calm. The USS Valiant's defensive systems are standard for all human vessels operating in frontier regions. Every ship in the Coalition registry includes a full disclosure of its capabilities. Not all capabilities, the Krevoth countered. Your ship disabled 3 of our warships before reinforcements arrived. After being fired upon first, Martinez reminded him. Captain Burke, please explain the Valiant's response. All eyes turned to Burke, who stepped forward. The Valiant defended itself using necessary force. We disabled rather than destroyed the attacking vessels, showing restraint despite the unprovoked aggression. The Krevoth leader's compound eyes gleamed. Your restraint still resulted in 27 of my warriors injured, all of whom are receiving medical care according to coalition standards, Martinez noted. Meanwhile, your unprovoked attack could have killed the entire crew of the Valiant. The debate continued for hours, with both sides presenting evidence and arguments. Sam watched closely, studying the diplomatic dance. Unlike the direct confrontation of battle, this was warfare of words and patience. During a brief recess, Sam found herself standing near a viewport overlooking the disabled Krevoth vessels, now surrounded by coalition ships. Captain Hayes joined her. First time at a diplomatic conference? Hayes asked. Sam nodded. Yes, ma'am. It's different than what I'm used to. Hayes smiled. War by other means, Lieutenant, sometimes more effective, sometimes less. She nodded toward the Krevoth delegation across the room. They're scared of us, you know. Scared? They attacked us. Often, fear is what drives aggression, Hayes explained. Think about it. The Krevoth expand through conquest. It's their way. They assume other species do the same. So when they see human ships, always armed, always ready for combat, they assume we're preparing for expansion. Kemco considered this, but we're not. We know that. They don't. Hayes watched the aliens with a thoughtful expression. To them, our always prepared philosophy looks like aggression waiting to happen. The conference resumed, and this time technical experts were called to analyze the battle data. Dr. Kelly Peters, the Valiant's AI integration specialist, presented the sensor log showing the Krevoth fired first. The data clearly shows the Krevoth vessel initiated weapons fire at 14:27:36 Standard Time, Kelly explained, highlighting the energy signature on the large display. The Valiant did not return fire until 14:28:02, after Captain Burke attempted to continue diplomatic communications. The Krevoth technical expert clicked his mandibles in frustration, but couldn't dispute the evidence. As the day progressed, Sam noticed the Krevoth delegates becoming increasingly agitated. They huddled together during breaks, mandibles clicking rapidly in their own language. "Something's changed," she whispered to Burke. "They're worried." Burke nodded slightly. "They've realized they have no justification for their attack that the coalition will accept. Now they're concerned about consequences." Near the end of the day, the Kravoth High Commander requested a private meeting with Ambassador Martinez. The room cleared except for Martinez, the High Commander, and their closest advisors. Burke and Sam waited outside with the others. "What do you think they're discussing?" Sam asked. "Reparations," Burke replied. "The Kravoth want to avoid coalition sanctions." An hour later, the doors opened and everyone was called back in. Martinez stood at the head of the table, looking pleased but professional. "We have reached an agreement with the Kravoth Empire," she announced. "They have acknowledged that their attack on the USS Valiant was based on a misinterpretation of human intentions and coalition policy." The Kravoth High Commander stepped forward. "We recognize that humans arm their vessels out of caution, not aggression. In the interest of peace, we will establish a joint monitoring station at the border of our territories to prevent future misunderstandings." Martinez nodded. "Additionally, the Kravoth have agreed to allow a permanent human diplomatic mission to their homeworld. This will foster better communication and cultural understanding between our peoples." Sam was surprised. This was a significant concession from the proud Kravoth Empire. After the formal proceedings concluded, Martinez approached Burke and Sam. "Well done, both of you," she said quietly. "Your handling of the situation gave us a strong position for negotiations." Burke nodded. "Thank you, Ambassador. May I ask what changed their minds so dramatically?" Martinez smiled. "Our intelligence division decoded more of their internal communications. It seems your little demonstration with the Valiant caused quite a stir in their military hierarchy." "How so?" Sam asked. "The Kravoth sent 4 warships against what they thought was a lightly armed recon vessel. Instead, they found a ship that not only defended itself, but disabled 3 of theirs before reinforcements even arrived." Martinez looked at them both with appreciation. "They're now wondering what our actual warships are capable of, and they're not eager to find out." As they walked back to the shuttle bay, Sam thought about everything that had happened. "So our paranoia about always being prepared actually prevented a war?" Burke nodded. "The Kravoth respect strength and preparation. By demonstrating both, we've earned their caution, which is better than their aggression." Sam looked out a viewport at the stars. "What happens to the Valiant now?" "Repairs, then we continue our mission," Burke said simply. "We're still a reconnaissance vessel after all." Sam couldn't help but smile at that. "Yes, sir. Just a simple recon team." As they boarded the shuttle to return to their ship, Sam overheard 2 Kravoth officers speaking in low tones. "If that is what humans call a reconnaissance vessel," one said, "I have no desire to face what they call a warship." The second officer's mandibles clicked in agreement. "Perhaps it is fortunate that humans prefer peace. They prepare for war better than any species I have encountered." Sam smiled to herself. The Kravoth had learned an important lesson about humanity, one that might keep peace between their species for years to come. 1 month after the incident with the Kravoth, the USS Valiant glided through space, its hull repaired and systems fully restored. On the bridge, Captain Burke sat in his command chair, reviewing reports as the ship continued its original mission of mapping unexplored star systems. Sam entered the bridge and approached him. "Captain, we've received a transmission from Coalition Headquarters. The Kravoth Joint Monitoring Station is now fully operational." Burke nodded. "Any reports of trouble?" "None, sir. Ambassador Martinez says the Kravoth have been surprisingly cooperative." Sam handed him a tablet. "We've also received new orders. After we complete our survey of this sector, we're to proceed to these coordinates." Burke studied the information. "The Kravoth homeworld?" He looked up, surprised. "We're to be the first human vessel to make an official visit." "Yes, sir. Ambassador Martinez specifically requested the Valiant for the mission." Burke smiled slightly. "I suppose we made quite an impression." Later that day, Burke called his senior officers to the conference room. The ship's long table was surrounded by familiar faces: Sam, Frank Miller, Lisa Reyes, Ben Rogers, Amy Liu, and Dr. Greg Palmer. Chief Engineer Dwayne Harris joined via video link, unwilling to leave the engine room during a critical maintenance cycle. "I've asked you here to discuss our upcoming diplomatic mission to the Cravath homeworld," Burke began. "This is unprecedented. No human ship has ever been invited to their system." "Invited is a generous term," Frank commented. "More like they realized it's better to have us as friends than enemies." "Either way," Burke continued, "this represents a significant opportunity for the Coalition. The Cravath have been isolationist for decades. Opening relations could stabilize this entire sector." Dr. Palmer leaned forward. "I've been studying their biology. Fascinating species. Their society is based on strength and preparedness, traits they've now recognized in humans. That's why we're being sent," Sam realized. "They respect the valiant specifically. We proved humans are worthy of their attention." Burke nodded. "Which is why this mission is so important. We need to show them that human strength isn't just in our weapons but in our diplomacy as well." The meeting continued as they discussed preparations for the diplomatic mission. Each department had specific tasks. Engineering would ensure the ship looked immaculate, medical would prepare for potential biological interactions, and communications would study Cravath cultural protocols. 3 weeks later, the Valiant approached the Cravath homeworld. From orbit, it was an impressive sight. A large planet with 3 small moons. Its surface a mix of deep blue oceans and land masses in various shades of amber and red. "It's beautiful," Sam said, standing at the viewport in Burke's ready room. "Most worlds are when viewed from a distance," Burke replied. He straightened his dress uniform, reserved for only the most formal occasions. "The shuttle bay reports the diplomatic team is ready. Shall we?" They made their way to the shuttle bay where a small team waited, including Frank and Lisa in their dress uniforms. A Coalition diplomatic specialist named Dr. Paul Mason had joined them from the Concorde, bringing expertise in Cravath customs. "Remember," Dr. Mason briefed them as they boarded the shuttle, "the Cravath value directness. Don't engage in what they would consider empty pleasantries, and maintain eye contact with their speakers. It shows respect for their authority." The shuttle descended through the atmosphere, eventually landing on a massive platform in what appeared to be the Cravath capital city. Buildings of strange angular design rose around them, their architecture unlike anything on human worlds. A delegation of Cravath officials waited as the humans disembarked. At their center stood Fleet Commander Zaktar, now wearing elaborate, ceremonial armor. "Captain Burke," Zakatar greeted, mandibles moving in what they had learned was a formal greeting gesture. "Your vessel honors us with its presence." Burke nodded respectfully. "The honor is ours, Commander. We come in the spirit of peace and cooperation." The formalities continued as they were escorted into a vast hall where the Cravath High Command had gathered. Hundreds of the insectoid aliens watched silently as the small human delegation was presented. The Cravath Supreme Leader, larger than any they had seen before, addressed them from an elevated platform. "Humans of the Coalition, 1 cycle ago our forces engaged your vessel in combat. Today we welcome it to our homeworld. This is the Cravath way, to test potential allies in battle before extending friendship." Burke exchanged a quick glance with Sam. This was new information. The attack had been a test? Dr. Mason whispered quickly. "This may be their way of saving face. Play along." Burke stepped forward. "Supreme Leader, humans also believe in testing the mettle of those we meet. Your warriors fought with honor and courage." This seemed to please the Supreme Leader, whose mandibles clicked rapidly. The Valiant proved itself worthy. Small in size, yet mighty in capability. Like humans themselves, yes? "We believe the strength of any vessel lies not in its size, but in its crew and its purpose," Burke replied diplomatically. The ceremony continued, involving ritualistic exchanges and formal presentations. The humans were shown military displays that demonstrated Cravath battle prowess, clearly intended to impress upon them that the ships they had defeated were not the best the Empire could offer. Later, at a more private gathering with high-ranking officials, Z-Qatar approached Sam as she observed the alien city through a window. Lieutenant Vega, your tactical decisions during our engagement were unexpected. Sam turned to face him. In what way, Commander? You disabled rather than destroyed. You showed restraint when victory was assured. His mandibles worked thoughtfully. This is not common among warriors. Humans don't fight to annihilate, Sam explained. We fight to secure peace. An interesting contradiction, Z-Qatar observed. You prepare thoroughly for war, yet claim to desire peace above all. Sam considered this. It's because we know the cost of war better than most. Our history is filled with conflicts. We learned that true strength lies not in destruction, but in having the power to destroy and choosing not to use it. Z-Qatar was silent for a moment. This concept is new to the Kravoth. We have much to learn from each other. The diplomatic mission lasted 5 days, during which the foundations were laid for ongoing relations between humans and the Kravoth. Trade agreements were proposed, cultural exchanges planned, and military cooperation cautiously discussed. On their final day, the Supreme Leader presented Captain Burke with a ceremonial weapon, a gesture of highest respect in Kravoth culture. The humans have shown us that preparation for war can be a path to peace, the Supreme Leader announced to the assembled crowd. The valiant came to our territory as observers, yet defended themselves as warriors. This balance of purpose is worthy of study. As they departed the planet, Sam joined Burke on the shuttle. Do you think it will last, sir? This peace? Burke looked back at the amber world growing smaller beneath them. The Kravoth respect strength, Lieutenant. As long as they remember the valiant, they'll think twice before challenging humanity again. Sam smiled. Just a reconnaissance vessel. Burke returned the smile. Just a recon team doing what humans have always done, exploring the unknown, prepared for anything. He looked out at the stars that awaited them. And that's why, no matter how far we go from Earth, humanity will always find its way home. The Valiant rejoined them in orbit, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of the alien sun, a ship of exploration armed for war, crewed by humans who hoped for peace but prepared for conflict. Throughout the galaxy, other species would soon learn what the Kravoth now knew. When humans said they came in peace, they meant it, but they were always ready for the alternative.